Hey there, I'm Alex Kidman. These are the Motorola Moto Buds Plus. Let's get into the review. So Motorola's offered up its own brand headphones, as so many phone makers do, for some time now, and historically they've always been decent for what they were, but they were generally of the style that you might get free with a pre-order or free with a phone generally. Perfectly serviceable for that kind of use, not a whole lot that you'd really go out of your way to chase down. The Motorola Moto Buds Plus are something a little bit different, however. Thanks to a tie-up with Bose, these have much better audio quality than you might expect, with a few catches that make them a little bit less compelling to me. Let's get into what all that means. First of all, talking about the design. So Motorola builds the Moto Buds Plus in two different colorways. You've either got beach sand or forest grey, which, honestly, are these not black? Can't we just call these black? They look like they're black. That's marketing for you, I guess, but obviously it's the forest grey set that they have sent me for review. While they're the Plus Buds in Motorola's range, the actual design is not that dissimilar to any other set of true wireless buds you might have ever seen. Little stalk-style microphones. I mean, they're nicely rounded, I suppose, and they fit reasonably well in my ears during testing. As with so many other sets, you do get a set of tips in various sizes to make sure that they will fit well, but I found out of the box they were quite decent, quite comfortable. They're also nicely light. Now, Motorola doesn't actually supply weights for them, but based on my own weighing, they're about 4 grams per bud, about 42 grams for the case, about 50 grams all up. I've gone running with these in my pocket, the charging case in my pocket, the buds in my ears. Not really felt it too much at all, which is all nice and pleasing. Each of the buds uses a touch-sensitive area for commands. I'm not a big fan of that approach. I'll get into that in the performance section. But one thing that does please me is this little button here, which is for pairing. I so much prefer charging cases that have a dedicated pairing button rather than making you touch down on the touch-sensitive areas or spin around 3 times and sacrifice a chicken or however else they want you to do the pairing. Because having a button you can press, where the button just lights up once it's in pairing mode, is just so much easier for switching between different devices, which a lot of users are going to want to do. At this kind of price point, you do find a lot of true wireless headphones that have some IP-rated water protection, at least to cover off for if you're going to sweat on them a bit. But unfortunately, the Motorola Moto Buds Plus do not have any, or they don't have any stated water resistance. Motorola says that they're water repellent, but that's an incredibly rubbery kind of statement because everything but a sponge is water repellent at some level. If you're an ultra-endurance athlete, I'd be wary of these in the long term. I mean, I have gone running with them. I have sweated all over them, as gross as that might sound, but I have, and they've survived so far, but so far maybe isn't good enough when you're spending this kind of money, and it really would have been nice to see some proper IP-rated water resistance for these. The Buds Plus are Bluetooth 5.3 headphones, so they'll pair with just about anything, and if all you want to do is pair, you just hit the button, find them in your device, and get going. I've paired these up to Android phones and iPhones and Nintendo Switches and laptops during my testing period. No trouble at all for the pairing. However, if that's all you do, you are genuinely not going to get the most out of these particular headphones. And that's because of the Motorola Buds app, which controls some of their advanced functions. Now, having your own app for your headphones, that's nothing new. Lots of brands do that. This one, while it doesn't have huge, exciting features in there, really, I mean, equalization and enabling multi-point pairing and firmware updates and so on, and then control over the active noise cancelling modes, none of that's out of the ordinary. What's a little bit more irksome here, though, is they are Android only, so there's no Moto Buds app for iPhones, for example, and there are specific features which you cannot get to at all without the Moto Buds app. So if you want to enable multi-point pairing, you'll have to have the Moto Buds app open at least once to do that. And then for active noise cancelling, you can cycle between on, off, and transparency modes, but there's also an adaptive noise cancelling mode, which takes into consideration the audio around you to work out your noise cancelling levels, and that's only accessible through the Moto Buds app. I'd really like it to at least be configurable for those touch controls. As much as I don't like them, I don't like thumping into my ears, and I found the strike zone on these was not great, even, even given my own dislike of that particular approach. The strike zone on these was not that great, but I'd at least like the ability to do that, irrespective of the device that I'm connected to, but it's not the case. There's also a couple of features like Dolby Atmos and head tracking, which are actually specific to Motorola-only phones. Now, lots of brands do this single app approach, and some of them are Android only. The reason that annoys me more with these is because they're actually really good headphones. The actual audio quality, which is certified by Bose, is very good indeed across a range of genres and a range of types, and the equalization works well. The active noise cancelling is pretty solid. Is it as good as, a high-end set of Bose, who I generally hold as the best in class for buds, a little bit above the likes of Sony or Apple, although I will admit it's very, very close at the top tier. But is it as good as those? No, and you shouldn't expect it to be for this price, but it is good. It is good at filtering out traffic noise and fan noise. I haven't taken them on a flight just yet, but I can't imagine they wouldn't deal with that fairly well as well. These are nice devices for that kind of task. Me being me, of course, I did take them running. So how did that go? Well, let's pass over to me post-run. Okay, 5K park run done in the Motobuds Plus there. Very AirPod-like in terms of comfort. But they've stayed in, they've worked, the audio isolation is good enough. I'm very much out of breath. I better go scan this thing and then get a glass of water. Back to me in the studio. Thanks, me. So the audio quality is really good. Mostly. There is another little catch here, and it's a bug, I think, in the headphones that's really only hit me when I've been connected to non-Android devices, so it may also relate to the lack of that Motobuds app. Every once in a while, when I've paired it to a MacBook or an iPad or an iPhone, or in one occasion to my Nintendo Switch, the audio quality has really dropped out. Like, it's gone from, hey, this sounds really good and rich and engrossing and great, to this sounds like I'm listening to a cheap AM radio. And the only thing that fixed it was unpairing and repairing to the Buds Plus. And as soon as I did that, everything was happy. The audio came back strong. I think it's just a weird software quirk. I've really not been able to isolate, hey, I can get it to run every single time on just this device. But it's definitely there, and that's an issue if you want these for more than just your phone, because if it can hit me, it can presumably hit you as well. The Motorola Buds Plus microphone pickup is decent enough. You're listening to it right now, paired to a Pixel 8 Pro. And just to provide a point of comparison, I'll switch over to the Pixel 8 Pro's internal microphone so you can kind of hear what the differences might be. And this is me on the Pixel 8 Pro, being held just sort of in front of my face, but obviously not in my ears the way the Motorola Buds Plus are. On the battery life front, Motorola plays it kind of cagey. They basically say that the Buds Plus are good for up to 8 hours with active noise cancelling disabled. And I know why brands do this. It's because active noise cancelling, of course, chews up more battery, so you can get a more impressive kind of figure if you say, well, here's the best figure we can give you. But who buys active noise cancelling headphones to not use active noise cancelling? I mean, really? I would use it that way, I suppose, if I was desperate to get a few more minutes of listening time out of them. But 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, I really want to have ANC enabled. So that's really what I've tested with. And what I've found there is a little lower than that. So I can get around 5 hours with active noise cancelling enabled, maybe up to a 6 if I torture myself and have ANC disabled, but not that 8-hour figure specifically. The charging case, as per Motorola, gives you up to 38 hours of listening time. That's quite a decent chunky amount. Although it does suggest, I mean, based on my own testing figures, you're probably talking maybe 3 to 4 full charges out of the case. Still pretty solid, pretty decent, and it is nice that the case itself supports both USB-C charging and wireless charging, although there's no charger in the box, just a USB-C cable, which you'll then have to connect up to your own power source. So should you buy the Motorola Moto Buds Plus? Well, look, if you're just an Android phone user looking for a dedicated set of decent ANC headphones with pretty good audio quality, then yeah, there's potential here for sure. And they do step above that kind of typical worth it if they're bundled with a Motorola phone kind of business. However, if you're looking wider, they're a harder sell at full price. Those audio issues hopefully will be fixed with a future firmware upgrade, but I never ever say, buy these because they will be fixed, or buy these because there's a new feature coming. You don't know when that new feature's coming and it might not fix the problem. I'm just hopeful they will fix the problem. And the fact that you can't configure certain things without the MotoBuds app. So if you do not live in an Android world, or if you only partially do, it's going to be slightly more complicated to get the most out of these particular headphones. And in that case, I wouldn't recommend them. I think there are better options in this price range. Anyway, that's my take on the MotoBuds Plus. Got any questions? Hit me up below. And as always, thanks for watching. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, hit that little bell, get all the notifications, do all the good stuff that every YouTuber tells you to do, and do it now.